So hang on 1 minute and we'll get everything else lined up. Now that we've got our center here, you can see my 13-inch mark, and then you can see my dead center mark. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this on the center, and I'm going to come back and put me a couple. Right here we know is the back of our cut, so I'm going to put me a center line here and one on up here. And then I can remove my string. And then what I'm going to do is, you don't have to do it this way, I'm just doing this to show you exactly how it's done. I'm going to the side here and up the side to give me a straight line. Now, what I like to do is I like to mark an arrow to let you know that this is the center of the boat. Okay? So now, I'm going to take the tray, the template, and I'm going to come in here, and of course this is something else that I do that you don't have to do, but I'm just going to cut a little hole, a side hole, inside of this where I can see that straight line right there. I'm going to do the same thing here, and all this is just a regular razor blade. Okay, now, there's my 13-inch mark. I'm going to come down to it, and you can see the center line here, and then you can see my center line up here as well. So at this point, I'm going to pull me up a couple of short pieces of tape. I'm going to hold it and put me a piece on there and a piece on here. Now, what I'm going to do is take a magic marker and I'm going to go around this. Just like this here. And then after I do this, I'm going to take a razor blade and I'm going to cut by. I'm going to run a piece of tape as well around this. This is just for a visual sight for me to make sure my template doesn't move in the process of putting this in. So now, I'm going to run a piece of tape down the side here. And what I like to do is use a little bit to frame it in with this, and I use big tape, and then that way I can tape the plastic to the tape. That way when I go to cut, I don't make a big mess. And then I'm boxing off my corners, because you don't need a corner. And plus, when you don't have a sharp corner on stuff, that gives you a little more strength, which when we put this in, I'm going to show you by jumping next to the hole that this does not have anything to do with weakening the deck. Okay? Alright, so now we've got our tape around. We can see, we still see we're on centers, front and rear, so now we're ready to cut our template out. Here and here. So now, as you can see, this is the section of boat that's going to come out, the piece of the deck. So now, I'm going to run a razor blade around, and what this does is when you're cutting it with a jigsaw, it does not allow your jigsaw blade to grab a hold of your carpet and iron weave it, because you wouldn't want a piece of weave run out through your carpet. So we just take a razor blade. You don't have to be real neat, just so long as you don't go over, because you've got a lip that hangs over here that's going to cover if you was to mess up. So you okay, so now we're going to take a 1/2 inch drill bit. You can use a smaller, I just prefer a bigger hole than smaller. And we're going to come in and we're going to drill in all 4 of these corners, or 8 rather. That way we can take and have this where I come up with a jigsaw blade. It'll allow the blade to turn and then go on up. you can see the carpet moving. My drill bit's hung a little bit. Well, actually, my drill's getting weak. Alright, so now we've got our drill bits, our hose drilled. Alright, now that we've got our hose drilled, we're going to take and vacuum up this. Normally, I put plastic down. I just wanted to show you at this stage how to do this before we put the plastic down. Normally, we put the plastic down before we actually drill the hose, just catch it. But I wanted to show you just exactly what was going on here before I did plastic, because once I put plastic down, all you're going to see is just this working area that I'm working on. So this way you could actually see before and after at this point. So now I'm going to vacuum this up, and then I'll show you as I'm putting the plastic down, and then we'll go from there, okay? Alright, now all this plastic is like the drop cloth that you actually get from, say, any hardware store. It's just a painter's drop cloth is all it is. Now, all I'm going to do is throw it all the way across. I want to bring it up high enough that I can cover as much as possible. Alright, as you can see, the plastic's out. Now I want to show you. You can see through, so what I want to do now is I want to cut on the back side of this plastic, not far enough down to hit my tape or my carpet, but I just need enough to come back here that allows me to put the big tape in between where I can take and hold my plastic down, as well as holding it where nothing will actually get under the carpet, under the plastic. Okay, so now what we want to do is do half and half. We want to catch half of the plastic and half of that tape. So this is the purpose of using a 2-inch tape, where you actually can catch both. This way, this will protect your boat and keep that fiberglass out of your carpet. And like I say, when you're doing this at home, you can go ahead and do this step before you drill the hose. That way you don't get none in there. But the only reason I did that is where you could actually see the hose being drilled versus the tape, and show you where I was working. Because like I say, once I get this on, all you're going to be able to see is just the workspace itself. Okay, now what I'm fixing to do is I'm going to run the jigsaw around, and I've done check to make sure there's no wires underneath. And as I'm running the jigsaw around, I'm going to hold the vacuum cleaner head right next to it to pick up all the dust and everything, where you don't get this all over your boat, all in your garage. So let me get everything I need. Now there's the jigsaw and the vacuum. Okay, now of course when I turn this on, you're not going to be able to hear anything, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and you'll notice once I get it cut, it's going to fall down inside, and then we'll show you pictures of the inside of the boat.